The alien queen's armored hand rested on the hilt of her blade as she positioned herself outside my quarters. I'd only said goodnight to her daughter, nothing more. The corridor lights dimmed to their night cycle, casting her massive silhouette in sharp relief against the metal walls of the embassy station. "Your Majesty, this isn't necessary," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. She didn't move. Didn't speak. Her 4 eyes tracked every shadow, every flicker of movement in the passageway. The ceremonial plates across her chest rose and fell with measured breathing. She was a monument. A weapon at rest. I'd been Ambassador Chen's translator for 6 months on Station Meridian. The Kresh Empire had sent their finest to negotiate the mining rights treaty. Queen Vereshek commanded respect through silence. Her daughter, Princess Lyra, had been my student in human languages for 3 weeks. Tonight, Lyra had knocked on my door crying. Not the diplomatic reception, my personal quarters.
"Mr. Davies, I don't want to go home,"
she'd whispered in halting English. Her translation collar flickered with malfunction. "They will make me—" The device cut out. She'd gripped my sleeve with trembling hands. "Please." I'd done what any teacher would do. Brought her inside, made her tea, let her compose herself. She'd told me about the arranged political marriage awaiting her on their homeworld.
About the war it would prevent, about the life she'd never live.
I'd listened. That's all. Given her a quiet space to breathe. Then I'd walked her back to the royal wing, said goodnight at her chamber door, and returned to find her mother standing like a sentinel before mine. Now Queen Vereshek's gaze fixed on something down the corridor, her hand tightened on her weapon. A maintenance drone drifted past. She relaxed fractionally. "I meant no disrespect to the princess," I said. Her secondary eyes, the smaller pair used for peripheral vision, slid toward me. "I know." The first she'd spoken directly to me in all our months of formal negotiations. I hesitated at my door panel. "Will you be here all night?" "Yes." The word carried the weight of an oath. I entered my quarters. The door sealed. Through the small observation window, I could see her profile. Unwavering. I'd insulted her somehow. Broken some protocol. Tomorrow I'd be reassigned. Sent back to Earth. The treaty would collapse without proper translation staff. I sat on my bunk and dropped my head into my hands. The station's night cycle deepened. I tried to sleep, but couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the Queen's silhouette. Felt the tension radiating from her stance. At 0300 hours, footsteps echoed in the corridor. Heavy. Multiple. I moved to the window. 6 Kresh warriors in full battle armor approached the Queen. Their leader, Commander Thrushmaul, stopped 3 paces from her. His mandibles clicked in what my training identified as aggressive challenge. "The human violated sacred custom," he growled. The princess was alone with a male. Unchaperoned. The dishonor must be answered. Queen Vereshek didn't move. There was no violation. "The law is clear. I am the law." Her voice cut like a blade through flesh. "Do you challenge my judgment, Commander?" Thrushmaul's armor plates rattled. The warriors behind him shifted. Weapons stayed sheathed, but the threat hung in the air like poison. "The council will hear of this," Thrushmaul said. "Let them." The Queen's hand never left her weapon. "You are dismissed." The commander held his ground for 3 heartbeats. Then 5, then turned sharply and marched away, his warriors following.
The Queen resumed her watch. I understood then.
She wasn't guarding me from external threats. She was shielding me from her own people. From those who'd used this incident to break the treaty, to spark the war that Lyra's marriage was meant to prevent. I'd become a political liability simply by showing kindness. Morning cycle began at 0600. I'd watched the Queen through the window for 3 hours straight. She hadn't moved. Hadn't sat. Hadn't faltered. When my door opened, she turned. Her eyes met mine with an intensity that froze me in place. "You showed my daughter compassion when I could not," she said. "For that I am grateful. For the complications it brings, I apologize." "Your Majesty, I don't understand." "Come, we have much to discuss before the council convenes." She walked down the corridor with the bearing of someone marching to war. I followed, my stomach tight with dread, realizing that my simple act of human decency had just shattered the careful political dance between 2 civilizations. The treaty hung by a thread, and I held the scissors. The council chamber stretched before us like a cathedral of judgment. 12 Kresh nobles sat in elevated positions forming a semicircle. Ambassador Chen stood to my right, his face carefully neutral. He'd been briefed. His tight jaw told me how badly. "Translator Davies," the High Chancellor's voice boomed through the translation network. You stand accused of cultural violation, of compromising Princess Lyra's honor, of jeopardizing the alliance between our peoples. Queen Varashek raised one hand. Silence fell. There is no accusation to answer, she said. I witnessed the interaction. My, daughter sought counsel. Translator Davies provided it. Within human custom. He was alone with the princess, Commander Thrushmell interjected from his position among the nobles. Male, unchaperoned. Our law is absolute on this matter. Our law, the queen said slowly, was written for our people, not for humans. Would you apply creche mating rituals to beings who don't share our biology, our instincts? The law exists to protect, to preserve honor. Whose honor? The queen's voice remained level, but something dangerous moved beneath it. My daughter's? She came to him in distress. He responded with kindness. Or perhaps you protect the honor of a political arrangement that values power over happiness. The chamber erupted. Voices clashed in the creche language, too rapid for the translators. Ambassador Chen's hand found my shoulder steadying. Queen Varashek descended from her position. She walked to the center of the chamber floor. I invoke ancient right. I claim this matter as royal prerogative. Every eye fixed on her. That right hasn't been invoked in 200 years, the High Chancellor said. Then perhaps it's time we remembered why it exists. She turned in a slow circle, addressing the entire council. I am queen. I am mother. I am the shield of my people. Last night I stood guard at Translator Davies' door not to protect him from judgment, but to protect us from ourselves. She gestured to Commander Thrushmell. You would have killed him. Sparked an incident.
Ended the treaty. Started a war.
All to preserve a custom that serves politics, not people. We need the alliance, Thrushmell said. The marriage ensures nothing. The queen's words fell like hammer blows. It trades my daughter's life for a temporary peace. It assumes our only path to security runs through sacrifice of the innocent. The truth she'd carried alone, the weight that had kept her standing through the night. Your Majesty, I said, my voice small in the vast chamber, I didn't mean to cause this crisis. You didn't cause it, Translator Davies. You revealed it. My daughter is 15 years old. She speaks 3 languages. She studies xenobiology. She writes poetry. Her voice cracked almost imperceptibly, and I was preparing to send her away to marry a stranger twice her age because I believed we had no other choice. Ambassador Chen stepped forward. If I may speak? The High Chancellor gestured permission. Earth has mining technology, Chen said carefully.
We have defensive alliances.
We have resources. We came here seeking trade, yes, but we also came seeking friends. He looked at me, then at the Queen. What we witnessed last night was simple human compassion. Where we come from, that's not a violation, it's a virtue. And if we're to build a real alliance, perhaps it should be founded on that instead of fear. The silence stretched. I counted my heartbeats, 17 before the High Chancellor spoke. You propose an alternative to the marriage arrangement? I propose we build trust the right way, Chen said, through cultural exchange, through understanding, through allowing people like Translator Davies and Princess Lyra to learn from each other, not despite our differences, but because of them. Commander Thrushmell stood. Empty words. The Carif Dominion presses our borders? We need military assurance, not philosophy. You need allies, Queen Varashek said. Real allies. The kind you don't buy with your children's lives. She faced the council. I have ruled for 23 years. I have never questioned our customs. Until last night, when I watched a human stranger show my daughter more consideration than I have in months. She removed her ceremonial blade, placed it on the chamber floor. I will not force Lyra into marriage. If the council demands it, they may replace me as queen, but they will not have her. The gesture stunned them. A creche ruler offering abdication. Unthinkable. Princess Lyra's voice came from the chamber entrance. Mother, no. The princess stood in the doorway, still wearing her sleep garments, her translation collar properly functioning now. I didn't come to Mr. Davies to avoid duty. I came to understand it. She walked forward with careful dignity. He listened. Then he asked me what I wanted. Not what I should want. What I actually wanted. No one had asked me that before. The High Chancellor studied them both. And what do you want, Princess? Not as a bargaining piece. As a person. As someone who might actually help build peace instead of just symbolizing it. She looked at me. Davies told me that on Earth they believe individuals can change history, not just kings and armies. Anyone. Necessary philosophy, Ambassador Chen countered. Your Majesty, counselors, let me be direct. Earth doesn't want a treaty built on a child sacrifice. We want partners. If the Kresh Empire needs military support against the Kareth Dominion, we can negotiate that honestly. But not like this. The princess is brilliant. In 3 weeks, she's mastered conversational English. She asks questions that challenge me. She thinks about problems from angles I never consider. She could be an ambassador herself someday, a real bridge between our peoples. I looked at Queen Varashek. If you let her. The Queen's eyes held mine. In them, I saw exhaustion, relief, fear, hope. The High Chancellor conferred with the other nobles and whispered Kresh. Minutes passed. The chamber's environmental systems hummed. Lyra's hand found her mother's. Finally, the council recognizes the validity of ancient right. Queen Varashek's judgment stands. The marriage arrangement is dissolved. He paused. However, we require concrete proposals for alternative alliance structures. Ambassador Chen, you will work with our diplomatic corps. You have 1 month. Understood. Furthermore, the Chancellor continued, Princess Lyra will continue her studies with Translator Davies, under proper supervision. Appointed look at Threshmal. She will serve as cultural liaison. Proof that understanding between our species is possible. Lyra's face brightened. The Queen's shoulders relaxed fractionally. Commander Threshmal, the Queen said, you will personally ensure Translator Davies' safety. Assign your best warriors. Make it clear that he is under royal protection. Threshmal's mandibles clicked in what might have been frustration, but he bowed. As you command, Your Majesty. As the nobles filed out, Ambassador Chen pulled me aside. You have any idea what you just did? Started a diplomatic incident? Prevented a war, maybe? He ran a hand through his graying hair. Or delayed one. We've got work to do, Davies. Real work. You and that princess just became the most important cultural exchange program in human history. Queen Varashek approached. Up close, I could see the fatigue in her eyes. The strain of the night's vigil. Thank you, she said simply, for seeing my daughter as a person. It's what anyone should do, Your Majesty. But few would, she glanced at Lyra, who was speaking animatedly with one of the younger counselors. She trusts you. That's rare. Precious. Don't waste it. I won't. The council gave us 1 month to prove this can work. To show that understanding is stronger than arranged marriages and forced alliances. Her gaze sharpened. Can you do that? I thought about Lyra's tears, her desperate hope, the Queen's lonely vigil. I can try. Proper lessons. Cultural exchanges. Public demonstrations that Kresh and humans can coexist, cooperate, even care for one another. She straightened. I want my daughter to have choices I never had. Help me give her that. I nodded, feeling the weight of it settle on my shoulders. That night, I returned to my quarters alone. No royal guard, no sentinel at my door. Just the quiet hum of the station and the distant stars visible through my viewport. I'd said goodnight to an alien girl in tears. Her mother had stood guard because a simple act of kindness threatened to unravel decades of political maneuvering, and somehow, impossibly, we'd turned that crisis into opportunity. Tomorrow would bring challenges, scrutiny, pressure from those who preferred the old ways. But tonight Princess Lyra was free. Queen Varashek could rest, and I could sleep knowing I'd done the right thing. The viewport showed Earth in the distance, a blue marble against the void. I thought about all the people there who'd never meet an alien, never face these impossible choices, never realize how much could change from one moment of compassion. I closed my eyes and slept without nightmares. The next morning, Princess Lyra arrived at the embassy's education center with 4 armed guards, a diplomatic escort, and enough recording equipment to document a first contact event. She also brought her mother. Observers, Queen Varashek explained, settling into a seat at the back of the room. The council wants proof this works, so we'll give them proof. The cameras tracked her every movement. The guards positioned themselves at strategic points. This wasn't a classroom anymore. It was a stage. Relax, I said to her in English. We're just talking, like before. On Kresh features, it looked unsettling, but the effort counted. What shall we discuss, mister? Davies? Call me Michael, and let's talk about something real. I pulled up a holographic display. Tell me about your homeworld. Not the diplomatic facts, the real thing. What you love about it. The camera's whirred. Lyra hesitated, glancing at her mother. The Queen gestured slightly. Continue. There are gardens, Lyra began haltingly, in the southern continent. Crystal formations that sing when wind passes through them. As a child, I would hide there and listen for hours. Her English smoothed as she found her rhythm. My mother found me once. She didn't scold me. She sat and listened too. I saw the Queen shift at the back of the room. Tell me more about the crystals, I said. For the next hour, Lyra described her world. Not the strategic resources or political geography. The actual planet. The places that mattered to her. The memories she carried. Her voice grew stronger. The guards relaxed incrementally. The cameras became background noise. Ambassador Chen arrived halfway through with 2 members of the Kresh Diplomatic Corps. They observed in silence, watching a Kresh princess and a human teacher find common ground in simple conversation. When the session ended, the senior diplomat approached. This is what you propose? Conversation. It's a start, Chen said. Understanding begins with listening. The Kareth Dominion won't be defeated with words. No, the Queen said, standing. But alliances built on mutual respect survive longer than those built on convenience. My daughter just spent an hour speaking freely with a human. No protocols, no political posturing. Just honest exchange. That's more valuable than you realize. The diplomat's mandibles twitched. The council will review the recordings. Let them, Lyra said quietly. I'm not afraid anymore. Over the following weeks, the sessions continued. Lyra taught me about Kresh history, art, philosophy. I shared human literature, music, scientific theories. We explored the differences between our species not as obstacles but as opportunities. The council watched every moment. So did Earth. Our conversations became required viewing in diplomatic training programs. Students analyzed our interactions, looking for keys to successful cross-species communication. But the real work happened in the unrecorded moments. When Lyra asked about human family structures and looked sad learning that I'd lost my parents young. When I stumbled through Kresh emotional concepts and she patiently corrected my pronunciation. When we both laughed at our mistakes and kept trying. Commander Thrushmull maintained his security detail. His initial hostility gradually transformed into something approaching respect. One morning, he asked if he could observe a session. I want to understand, he said, why the Queen would risk everything for this. He watched Lyra debate the ethics of artificial intelligence with me, switching between languages as her thoughts outpaced her vocabulary. Watched her challenge assumptions, ask uncomfortable questions, refuse easy answers. Afterward, he approached the Queen privately. I wasn't supposed to hear, but the acoustics carried. She is formidable, Your Majesty. The marriage would have wasted her. I know, the Queen replied softly. I've always known. Ambassador Chen worked frantically with the Kresh Diplomatic Corps drafting the new treaty, military cooperation clauses, technology exchanges, cultural programs, educational partnerships. The framework was solid, but it all depended on proof that Kresh and humans could genuinely work together. 3 days before the Council's final vote, alarms shattered the station's calm. Kareth Dominion ships had violated the border. A show of force. A test of Kresh resolve. Queen Varashek was summoned to the military command center. Ambassador Chen went with her. I was left with Lyra and her guards, waiting for news. Will there be war? She asked in English. I don't know. She pulled up tactical displays, her fingers dancing over controls with practiced ease.
Look, 3 Carrack dreadnoughts.
Heavy escorts. They're positioning at the disputed mining colony. Her translation collar flickered as she switched to rapid Kresh, calculating ranges and vectors. You understand military tactics? I'm a princess. Of course I do. She highlighted weak points in the Kareth formation. If my mother sends the Second Fleet here and requests Earth support here, she stopped. Michael, I have an idea, but I need to speak with Ambassador Chen immediately. I contacted Chen's comm. The station's communication protocols were overwhelmed. Emergency channels only. Then we go in person, Lyra said. Commander Thrushmull blocked our path. The princess remains in secure location. Commander, Lyra said with her mother's authority, I may have tactical information that prevents this war. Will you stop me? He studied her for 3 long seconds. I escort personally. Lyra, despite her smaller frame, kept pace easily. The command center doors sealed. Commander Thrushmull overrode them with royal clearance. Inside, chaos. Tactical displays showed Kresh ships maneuvering, the Kareth fleet advancing. Queen Varashek stood at the center, issuing orders with controlled precision. "Mother," Lyra called, "I know how to stop this without firing a shot." The Queen turned. "Lyra, you shouldn't be here." "But I am." She approached the tactical display, pointed to the Earth defense platforms in adjacent sectors. "The Kareth don't know about our new alliance yet. They think you're alone. If Ambassador Chen authorizes Earth ships to join your fleet just to observe, it changes their calculation entirely." "She's right. We've got 2 cruisers on patrol nearby. They could be in position in an hour." "Joint operations haven't been approved," a Kresh admiral objected. "The treaty hasn't passed." "Then this becomes the treaty's proof," Lyra said. "Show the Council that Kresh and humans can act together. Show the Kareth that attacking means facing both our peoples." Queen Varashek looked at her daughter with something like wonder. "You planned this, I learned from the best," Lyra replied. "You taught me that strength comes from unity. Mr. Davies taught me that unity comes from understanding. Now we prove both." The Queen turned to Chen. "Ambassador, the Earth ships were already authorized for defensive cooperation under the draft treaty," Chen said carefully. "This qualifies. Make it happen." Earth cruisers altered course, Kresh fleets adjusted formation. The displays showed the 2 forces merging into a unified defensive position. The Kareth fleet stopped advancing. 1 hour became 2. The standoff held. Then the Kareth ships withdrew, returning to their side of the border. The command center erupted in restrained celebration. Queen Varashek pulled Lyra into an embrace rare among Kresh. "You just prevented a war, daughter." "We prevented it," Lyra corrected, including me and Chen with her gesture. Together. The council convened for the final vote that evening. The recordings of the border incident played on every screen. Kresh and human ships moving as one coordinated force. 2 species, 2 militaries, 1 purpose. Ambassador Chen presented the revised treaty. Queen Varashek testified about Lyra's role. I described our educational exchange and its results. Commander Threshmail spoke last. "I questioned this alliance. I believed our customs were absolute. I was wrong. Princess Lyra demonstrated more strategic thinking today than generals with decades of experience. She did so because she was allowed to learn freely, to think independently, to develop skills we would have buried beneath political marriage. The humans didn't weaken us. They helped us see our own strength." The vote was unanimous. The treaty passed. Afterward, in the quiet of the observation deck, Queen Varashek stood with me, watching the stars. "You said goodnight to my daughter when she needed kindness. That simple act changed the course of history. I just did what felt right. That's why it mattered." She turned to face me fully. "The Kresh have a saying, 'True strength protects the vulnerable.' I spent years thinking that meant military power. Showing mercy was weakness. But you showed me different. You protected my daughter's dignity, her hope, her future. That took courage I lacked." "You stood guard all night," I reminded her. "You invoked ancient right. You risked your throne because you showed me it was worth the risk." She placed one massive hand on my shoulder. "Lyra will continue her studies with you. She will become our first cultural liaison to Earth. She'll live the life she chooses, not the one politics dictated. Because one human translator saw her as a person first." Lyra joined us, Chen beside her. The council approved my ambassador track. 5 years training, including 2 years on Earth. "You'll do brilliantly," I said. "Only if you keep teaching me." She switched to flawless English. "I have much yet to learn about humans and their strange habit of choosing compassion over convenience. It's not always convenient," Chen admitted. "But it's always right." We stood together, 4 individuals from 2 worlds, watching the starfield. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Trade negotiations, cultural exchanges, the hard work of building a genuine alliance. But tonight, we'd proven something fundamental. That understanding was possible. That kindness mattered. That one moment of human decency could echo across civilizations. I thought about the scared girl who'd knocked on my door and the warrior queen who'd stood guard through the night. Both had been transformed not by grand gestures or political machinations, but by the simple recognition of shared humanity. Even across the stars, some truths remained universal. The vulnerable deserved protection. The powerful owed compassion. And sometimes the greatest act of courage was just saying goodnight with kindness. The station's night cycle began again. Queen Varashek returned to her duties, Lyra to her studies, Ambassador Chen to his endless paperwork. I returned to my quarters, no guards at my door, no crisis looming. Just the quiet certainty that tomorrow I'd wake up and continue the work of building bridges between worlds one conversation at a time, and if another scared student knocked on my door seeking comfort, I'd do exactly what I did before. Because some things mattered more than politics, more than treaties, more than fear. Compassion, understanding, the simple human act of caring. That was worth guarding, worth fighting for. Worth standing through the night to protect. Always.